I was trying not to hear myself through the monitor. So there you go. Okay, wait. I'll just leave that on. I'll shut this off because I don't need to hear myself anymore, and we'll get rid of those. Okay, we're back. We're back. Sorry about that. So, like I was saying, I think that tonight we're going to probably see a big death. I think it's been foreshadowed in the previous episode, and so probably setting up that bittersweet ending that Martin likes. So tonight's probably the night for that. I can't imagine it would extend all the way to the last episode. I think there's a lot of things they got to cover here with just only a couple hours to go. So I have to imagine that we're gonna see something big happen tonight. I don't know if I want to say it out loud, but I mean maybe I will in a few minutes. But what do you guys think about? Let's see. Well, so Alex says, do I think that John will have to kill Danny at some point? So that kind of goes to what I was alluding to. I actually am of the belief that that John is going to be the one who gets killed. I don't know I don't believe Danny is going to do it, but I think it's going to end up being that Danny is going to rule Westeros. So I believe tonight might be a moment where we see Jon Snow die. They've kind of foreshadowed it, in my opinion, in the previous episode when they killed the dragon that he rides on, and they also had him send his direwolf away to the north. So essentially he's lost his two spirit animals, and so he's on his own now. He doesn't have any kind of like extra protection or any type of magical protection going into this last episode, so or last two episodes. So I think that they're setting it up that he's probably going to be getting killed pretty soon, in my opinion. So do I think Cersei and Danny die tonight? Common Scott says. I really don't think that Cersei may die tonight. I'm not entirely sure. I think Cersei might be saved for the last episode. I think this episode will maybe run into a cliffhanger type of situation where they something bad happens. It looks bleak. We kind of roll credits, and then we come back next week to the resolution of that then rolls into the ending, the final parts of the show. So we'll see if what happens there with that. So wouldn't it be an awesome plot twist if Qyburn reveals his latest monstrous creation as a resurrected Balron, using the skull under the Red Keep for a little dragon on dragon action? That's Seafood Diet says that. Yeah, well, the problem with this is that they've pushed the show so quickly over the past two seasons that the idea of them being able to jam these big conspiracy theories that have been rolling around out there is probably really low. It would be really awesome if they did those types of things, if they in some way made it so. A lot of people have been talking about how Qyburn sent Bronn to go kill. And in the comments of my videos, people have been saying, Qyburn was the one. He's got this whole conspiracy going, and he's the one that sent Bronn to kill Jaime and kill Tyrion because he was trying to get them angry to go kill Cersei. I just, as cool as theories like that are, there's not a lot of time left in the show. So in order to really make those work, and I'm not saying that they won't do it because they could. I mean, the show has kind of gone a little off the rails with them trying to jam things in there. So, but I just can't foresee them going that far, that deep, with only a couple of hours really of programming left. Especially with all the other things that need to be dealt with. You need to resolve this battle between Danny and Cersei, and you need to resolve who's going to sit on the Iron Throne. You need to resolve the Hound, that's the thing we're going to get tonight. We also might see the Hound die tonight. He's probably going to fight the Mountain, or he's definitely going to fight the Mountain. We're going to see Clegane Bowl tonight. That's going to happen, and then probably Arya is going to end up killing him. I would believe that's probably the whole twist there of what they're going through is that we're going to see the Hound go to King's Landing. He's going to fight the Mountain, and in that fight, he's going to be mortally wounded. He will probably kill the Mountain, but he'll be mortally wounded, and then Arya will be there to finish him off, something that she didn't do, a couple of seasons ago when he had gotten those grievous injuries. So that will be a very nice circle for that story for Arya. And a lot of people think that Arya is going there to kill Cersei. I don't believe that that's what's actually going to happen. I think that what we're going to see is we're going to see Arya going there. Her little talk last week with the Hound, basically saying to him, that she had unfinished business is true. I think that she does have unfinished business, and it's to kill the Hound. He's been on her list since day one, and so she didn't do it before because she, felt bad for him, but now she's like, super badass killer. So she probably has no problem going and killing him now. After she killed the Night King, I mean, it seems to me after you kill the Night King, you probably can just crumple up your list and throw it away. I mean, you've done the ultimate kill of all time, but apparently she's not done yet. So we'll see what happens there. Let's see. Some people are mad about like the tactics from episode 3 and other ones. So this is from Thumb Warrior, the feminist stuff. I'm not entirely sure about, but in terms of the tactics that we've seen in the show, I've never really personally gotten too like fired up about that. It's a fantasy show. It has dragons, it has undead, it has all sorts of crazy stuff in it. So, I mean, the idea that they sent their cavalry in first to die at one, it's meant to be fantasy, things like that. So, but we will. I'm thinking we're going to see Clegane Bowl. That's going to be a thing that we're going to see. So that's happening tonight. I think that's probably likely tonight. If there's going to be something that happens, Clegane Bowl is up there, and probably towards the end of the show, we're going to see a major death. Like I think everything's been pointing towards Dany, but I think that is what they're trying to do. The idea that they're trying to paint her as the mad, that she's going to be the Mad Queen or something like that. That to me is just that's a red herring. She is no less cruel than Jon has been. If you think about Jon hung a child at the wall, Ollie, a couple of seasons ago, and everyone's saying what a great guy Jon is. So cruelty is part of rulership in this series. So they're trying to make Dany seem scarier than she is, or than anybody else. And the truth is she's actually been a very great ruler. She's freed slaves. She has helped save the kingdom, the 7 kingdoms from the undead. She has done horrific things, but it's been to horrific people. The consequences of her actions have led to maybe not so great stuff, but overall her actions don't seem any more cruel than any other ruler. So I think they've been trying to falsely paint her as someone that you may not want to have be a ruler, but the truth is that she's no crueler than anybody else, and actually she seems better. So she's probably going to be the leader, and Jon Snow is probably going to bite it, and Clegane Bowl will happen probably tonight. So hopefully, that's what I'm hoping for. Do I think there's any truth to the Mountain having a transplanted head from someone who has been beheaded on the show? Seafood diet. I don't know. I mean, again, that's interesting. I mean, I know in the books, the Sir Robert Strong, who the Mountain ends up becoming through Qyburn's Frankenstein experiments, he is an amalgamation of other body parts. The thing is, in the show, there was they kind of played it like this is the same guy. He was gigantic. He's still gigantic. He just turned purple I think it's just a matter of he's Frankenstein. He's Martin's nod to Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and the monster, and how do you defeat the monster. And so we'll see what happens. I think Clegane's going to do it. I think Clegane, leaving it very specific. I think the Hound is going to do it. I think the Hound is going to be able to beat him, and but it's going to be very much like the fight between him and Oberon, which at the last minute there was like almost a death blow that the Hound will face, and then the Hound will be calling for death again, and Arya will be there to deliver it to him. Yeah, Cosmic Cat, you said you're upset that Dany forgot about the Iron Fleet in episode 4, and that Cersei suddenly followed some rule of war and didn't kill Dany on the spot. Again, yeah, I do agree that I think this stuff is happening really because they are trying to get this stuff all into as few episodes as they can. So I agree that it made no sense. It was the Iron Fleet thing was just, how do you forget that it exists? And then, especially, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm wrong here, but I believe she was told prior to this that Cersei had reinforced herself with the Golden Company, and so they didn't swim. They had to take ships to get there. So I would assume that the Iron Fleet is around, along with Euron Greyjoy, but apparently not smart enough in the show. And then for Cersei to basically be like, she has never been one that when she has someone in their clutches to just let them go. In that particular, with correction, she has done that. She has done that with Tyrion now twice. I was more surprised that they didn't kill Tyrion. I was not that I'm like a fan and I want him to die, but this is twice in that episode that he could have faced certain death and instead walked off scot-free, no problems. So we'll see. I think it's just that they're trying to jam everything into short episodes, so strange and nonsensical things are happening at this rate, I'm hoping that Dany will have a good change. They'll give Dany a good change and have her sacrifice the throne for the better of the realm or share it with Jon, but I'm not betting on it, Cosmic Cat. Yeah, so that would be like the fairy tale ending would be something along those lines. I think like if we saw her and Jon share the throne. I just don't. For the television show, it might work. I just don't know if it's going to work. It wouldn't work in the books. The books don't do that. That's not his style. So I can't imagine they're going to be that different. I know there's going to be some differences between the endings of these two pieces of media, but I can't imagine they're going to be that different. But they could be. We'll see. Let's see what else we got here. Cosmic Cat, they did. They discussed the Golden Company in the war room before they left Winterfell. So she was fully aware that there was boats around someplace. So, Game of Thrones director David Nutter on why Euron isn't suspicious about the pregnancy. Quote, he's not paying that much attention. That's Thumb Warrior. I get... There has been a couple of strange things that have been said by the showrunners in this particular season. One of them, in particular, that does worry me about the end of the show, was essentially Martin has said multiple times he would never, even if people had guessed correctly the end of his story, he wouldn't go back and change the story in order to basically make sure no one knew what the ending was going to be. And the reason he said that was because he said it ruins foreshadowing. You set up so much foreshadowing, and then, as he put it, the butler did it. And then suddenly someone has guessed the butler did it. So then you say, well, I can't make it be the butler. I'm going to make it be somebody else. And so you make it somebody else, and then what happens is all the foreshadowing makes no sense. So what kind of has frightened me about this show now is that one of the DBs came out and said that essentially they knew that the story they were presenting was pointing towards Jon Snow being the person who was going to kill the Night King. And in the end, they decided to change it to Arya because Jon Snow seemed too obvious. So it's the exact opposite of what the Game of Thrones, as we know it, has been based on. That you establish all this fantastic foreshadowing, and then you change it because you feel people guessed it. Who cares? I mean, like, that's the viewer of a television show or the reader of a book should have the opportunity to try to guess it. I mean, that's part of the fun of this type of media. I mean, it's not like we're watching a murder mystery, but that's kind of the fun of those things, is that you get an opportunity to watch it or read it and in your mind figure out what is going on. The idea that the creator would then suddenly change it so you got it wrong, to what end? So that they can say I was smarter than you? Very strange way to approach it, and that kind of frightens me a little bit. Alex says, got to blame George Martin for some of this. It's so dumb to push this woman in leading roles nonsense. It's just not realistic. Yeah, I don't know about that. I think that Martin has no problem with powerful women. I mean, if you read his books, most of the women in his books go through a type of an arc where they start off at a place where there's no power and they end up in a place of power. They almost every woman, if you think about that, in this particular story follows that arc. Even Cersei, sorry, I keep on getting her name wrong. Even Cersei, she follows a similar arc. I mean, she started off as basically a person who's being married off. Even though she lived in the richest family at the time, she was being married off to Robert, who was a war hero, as a second choice. And she hated it, and now she's been resentful of it, and she's taken that and turned it into this power trip that's kind of evil and a little bit disturbing. But that's kind of like the arc of any good story, is you have somebody who's in a position who's doesn't seem like they're going to go anywhere, and then they go someplace. A lot of people in his stories do that. Littlefinger did that. Tyrion has done that. Tyrion was, I mean, not that he was a nobody. He was known as like this, like the imp, a monster. And here he is now. He's the hand of the queen, the incoming queen. So I don't feel that there's anything wrong with him putting women in these same roles, because it's an interesting story. It's kind of like a weird underdog. Even evil people or people that have evil intent have kind of like an underdog story in his world, which is interesting to me. So. Let's see here. What do we got here? All right. Samuel says the ending should be naturally predicated based on the story being told. The Red Wedding happened because it had to happen based off of this world. Now it's just better make sure to surprise them. And I agree. I totally agree with that, Samuel. The biggest issue that I had with the Night King wasn't that Arya killed him. Like, I don't care that Arya killed him. My thing is to make it make logical sense that she killed him, right? And so a lot of people are like, well, she was trained to be this assassin. And it's like, yeah, but up until literally one day before, she'd never fought a White Walker. She had never dealt with them on any level up until right before then. So that's, people interpreted that as subversion. It was like kind of like, aha, you Game of Thrones is all about subverting your expectations. But that's not a subversion of expectations. That's literally if I wrote a story about all these characters dealing with this problem, and then the problem was solved by some person who was totally removed from that situation for the entire time, as a reader or as a viewer, you would feel cheated. You would be like, again, going back to that point of like, you didn't get the opportunity to try to figure it out on your own because the writer had figured out, well, I'm not going to let you figure it out. I'm going to just tell you. That just takes away from the enjoyment of it. On top of my other problems with the Night King story altogether, but I mean, that was one of them. That was the reason why I didn't like Arya killing him, just because it didn't seem to make sense to me. Let's see. Cosmic Cat, the complexity of development of each character is superb. It's what I love about the show. I think that's my biggest problem with this season. The complexity is thrown aside. And I agree. Yeah, that is exactly the problem. I do love this show. I think a lot of people probably have watched a couple of videos I've done, and they probably figured, man, this guy's got problems with the show. He likes to complain about it. He likes it. Listen, I've watched this show for 8 years just like everybody else. I wouldn't watch something I hated. If I had watched this show, I had read the books. If I had watched this show at the start and thought it stunk, I would not keep on watching it. Quite the contrary. I love the show. I think it's great. I can't wait to see what happens. Like the crazy part about it is for how weird this season or 2 seasons has been. I still want to see the end. I still want to see what they do, because even if it is, kind of a train wreck, even that is going to be interesting. I know how crazy that sounds, but even watching a potential train wreck could be interesting. So it's going to have value no matter what, and I hope to watch it, and I hope it's good. I hope that I hope it makes sense. I really just hope that they kind of land the plane here. We've had a little bit of turbulence coming in for landing. I'm hoping that in the next couple episodes we get back onto track and we kind of bring her in. And I think we will. I think what's happened is they've kind of pushed a lot of that storyline that they realized was going to take almost another entire season to put on the TV. That now that that's gone and out of the way, they have room to kind of get back onto track. And I'm hoping that that's what's going to happen tonight. They basically kind of set it up and got it up to the point now where we can proceed to the stuff that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like get down and dirty with, okay, we know who the 3 major contenders are. It's Jon, it's Dany, it's Cersei. People want to throw Tyrion in there. Fine. He's definitely a dark horse candidate in my opinion at this point. But he's still there. And let's see what happens. I'm pretty sure it's going to be one of those 4. I can't imagine it's anybody else. I mean, if Qyburn ends up being sitting on the Iron Throne at the end of this thing, I'm probably going to throw my TV out the window. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be one of those 4 guys. And, I just hope that they have the room now. They've kind of cleared the path with all the side stories, and I hope that they just have the room to bring it in for a nice, smooth landing. So we'll see. All right. What do we got here? The visual foreshadowing of how she kills the Night King is excellent, pulling the same dagger drop trick as in her duel with Brienne. Thumwar, I agree with you. I did like that. That was good. That was a great callback. Right? Like the whole idea of the callback of her fight with Brienne was great. That's a cinematic thing to hit. That's a story note to hit, and calling it back. The problem is just what was, why was she the one? And then going back to, my original video was what was the Night King? And a lot of people pointed out to me, the Night King was like this weapon of terror built by the children of the forest to fight the first men. And okay, fine. I'll buy it. The problem is that what was its purpose, right? So they built this essentially they built this MacGuffin that's going to what? Just kill a bunch of people and I guess bring people together to fight them. Okay. but it felt a lot. It should have been a lot deeper than that, right? Because his setup was much grander than just a MacGuffin. So that's the part I didn't understand. Was like, if that wasn't truly his intent, why did he have this entire story on his own? Why did he have this backstory that seemed a lot deeper? Why are they making a prequel about a MacGuffin? It doesn't make any sense. But we'll see. People are going to tell. People keep on saying to me on that video comment, Bran's going to explain something to us over the next 2 episodes. Okay, great. Let's see it happen. I hope it's worth it. I really think it's over, to be honest with you. So I think that they've wrapped that up. The Night King's gone. Bran is gone. Because Bran's not coming to this battle tonight. So if he's not at the battle tonight to explain what the Night King was, that means he's got to show up next week. And that's it. That's the last episode. And so at that point, what's its value other than just being a preview for the Long Night prequel that's coming out? I don't know. We'll see. Let's see. Okay, so the Storm Rider says, all this discussion and theories and all that will happen at the end is that Arya will use her sneak powers to sneak past the entire Lannister army and stab Cersei. Game over. And, I wish I could just tell you that was not going to happen. However, I'm a little bit worried. I'm a little bit worried because, and that goes back to the commentary I was making earlier about the show writers trying to be like, you can't guess the ending because we're going to do something crazy that you couldn't guess. So is it possible that happens? Yes, it is possible that happens. I just hope it doesn't. That would be bad. I wouldn't like that at all. Okay, yeah, so Thumb Warrior, that's a good point. The only thing about the Night King that truly paid off was in developing the Children of the Forest. And that's true. It was kind of like there was like this there seemed to be a lot more there than what we got shown, right? So the way they set that up, Bran goes on this epic trek to become the Three-Eyed Raven. He is introduced to the White Walkers through that. He's introduced to the Children of the Forest through that. He's introduced to the Three-Eyed Raven, the Blood Raven. He is shown all these things in the past, but virtually none of them had to do with the Night King, other than the creation of the Night King. His existence, from creation until he comes back at the Battle of Winterfell, there is no backstory. There's no filler that Bran uncovers by taking trips into the past. All right, and so there just seemed like there was going to be a lot more there, and it didn't go anywhere. So we'll see. Maybe they'll pay it off in the next couple episodes, but I don't have a lot of faith in that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Chainbrain says, do you think there will be any resolution to the Lord of Light storyline at all? I can't tell. I do. I kind of do. I have a theory, but theories at this point are kind of falling to pieces. But a lot of people feel that Arya is the Lord of Light. That she was, but it doesn't necessarily fit all the prophecy. I kind of feel that if the prophecy does pay off, the Lord of Light should probably be Dany's child. This is the reason why I feel that she's going to end up as the ruler, as I think she's going to be pregnant with Jon's child. Jon will likely die, and Dany will rule, and then her son will be the prince that was promised, will be the Lord of Light. That still doesn't fit into the entire prophecy. It just makes more sense to me, I guess I can say. I don't know. That would make more sense to me than the possibility of this being some situation where Arya was the prince of that was promised. It just that didn't make any sense. So I think that's where this is going, but we'll see. I know there's a lot of prophecy that she's got going on, that she won't have children ever again, or at least until the sun rises in the west. But the connection I've made, and I'm sure other people have too, is just that if she was to have a child here in Westeros, that would, especially a son, it would be a sun rising in the west. So that's the reason why I feel that's an easy link for the show writers to make to draw a line through that prophecy, right? And so I feel that might be the layup that they use. But maybe Arya was the Lord of Light. If she was, then again, that thing's out of the way, and we're just moving on to some other story entirely, I feel. Samuel asks, do I think that the Azor Ahai prophecy was always supposed to be a red herring? Like maybe it was purposely commentary about prophecies and their unreliability. That's possible, Samuel. There's been a lot of theories out there that or prophecy in the show that really hasn't amounted to much of anything. The thing that I think does make prophecy a possibility in this show is the very fact that Bran has been following his prophecy the entire time. He has been called to be the Three-Eyed Raven, and he did it using visions to get there and figure it out. So there is some prophecy. There's some type of prophecy that does exist in this world. Maybe they're not all right. And it's but see, I think this is where the show did a disservice with the way they did this, right? The killing of the Night King, the way it happened, makes the prophecies seem impossible. So maybe that is maybe that is the way that this thing ends up. Who knows? So Thumbware says, the way I read the prophecy was that Dany was the son, and she won't have a child until she takes the throne. No, that's true too, Thumbware. That's another way to do it too. I would. That's probably better than mine. I kind of like that. That's probably a good way to put it. That when she takes the throne, that she'll end up rising in the West, I guess, and then have a child. So. Yeah, that could happen. I just don't think I don't think that throne's gonna be shared between her and Jon. So, Stormrider says D&D have shot down the Arya equals Azor Ahai theory, saying that Arya was used to kill the Night King only, and only to subvert expectations. Yeah, well, they definitely did. John Smith says, who will be Prince of Dorne? I have no idea. I honestly have no idea who will be Prince of Dorne. What was interesting is that I was talking to somebody. Of course, no one can believe me now, which is fine. But I was talking to somebody prior to last week's episode, and they were asking me what I thought was going to happen. And I was saying to them, I felt that Tormund was going to just go back to the north, and that Brienne was going to be, Sansa Stark's, personal bodyguard. And those were all kind of like layups. Those were easy. But then I said, and I think that Gendry is going to be legitimized and given Dragonstone. And they were like, no way, he's a nobody. And I was like, yeah, no, he's probably somebody that they're going to want to try to work back in. He's been hanging around. She's looking for allies. He definitely was there at the battle and did some stuff. And so when it actually happened, even I was a little surprised by that because he did seem like such an outside character. And I wonder again if I was just kind of falling into that trap of the subverted expectations, right? That he was somebody that, I don't know, wasn't really at the forefront all the time, but in the end ends up, becoming a Lord of Dragonstone. So, John Smith says, I'm pretty sure they will show Brienne teleporting to King's Landing. That's possible. They've teleported around a lot. Yeah, seafood diet, same line of thing, the way they fast travel around Westeros. The sun could rise almost anywhere. That's very true. That's very true. Again, I kind of, since we're watching dragons fly around and we're watching magic being cast, I try to suspend some disbelief with the travel times across Westeros, although they are kind of ridiculous. But we'll see what happens over the next two episodes. We got about 20 minutes before the show starts, so I don't want to keep everybody. I want to wrap this up now. Sorry for the technical difficulties with starting the stream, but now I know how to get it going for the next time when we do another one of these. So enjoy the show. I'll take one more question. It says, it's from Stormrider. It says, if Dany takes the throne, do you think she will be the Mad Queen and Jaime might try to kill her like he killed the Mad King? And that's a great way to end it. Be honest with you, I don't think that Dany is going to be a Mad Queen. I think that's a red herring that is a red herring that I think they're giving to us. They're trying to make her appear that way. I touched on this a little bit earlier. I don't feel that she's any more cruel than any other ruler would or could be. Just based on history. Cersei's way crueler. Cersei's way crueler. Jon has hung children and beheaded men, and Dany is a ruler. Now, in terms of Jaime, though, I think the callback to the Mad King is going to be Jaime killing Cersei. I think that she is going to try to do something crazy here at the end when she's losing it all, and he's going to be close to her, and that, for him, would be the perfect circle of a story arc. That he went from villain for killing a ruler who was going to kill everybody to becoming a hero for killing a ruler who was going to kill everybody. It just makes way, way too much sense for that not to be the way that goes. So my assumption is Jaime will be killing Cersei. So, all right. So, do I have any plans to do videos on past Game of Thrones? Probably not. This thing is kind of be wrapping up. If something catches my fancy, I might, especially if something happens over the next couple of episodes that really just blows my mind in terms of past episodes, then yeah, absolutely. I'll do a callback and we'll look at some other stuff. I feel like everything for this show has been really great up until just the last two seasons. The last two seasons are the ones that have really not made a heck of a lot of sense. Hopefully, these next two episodes do make sense, and when they finish it up, we'll be able to just be satisfied by it, and I won't need to go back and say, wow, they went totally off, I'm a hand talker. So I just whacked my microphone. They went totally off the reservation or off the plan here. And so hopefully that doesn't happen. And instead I'm just happy about these next two episodes. I'm sure I'll find something. Usually I try to just focus on, there'll be certain little things that are kind of, that they set up. And I look for payoffs sometimes. And if they're not there, that's when that's really what started the whole thing. Was the Night King video was basically me. I watched an episode and I was just like, what happened there? That didn't make any sense. And apparently a lot of people felt the same way. So anyway, guys, it's about 15 minutes, 20 minutes to the showtime. I want to let you all go. Thank you so much. I will probably do other shows and other movies in the future. I have some polls up on the videos that have basically been asking what people are watching next. People seem very interested in the Watchmen HBO series, which is coming out. They also seem interested in Chernobyl. Chernobyl might be a little bit harder to cover unless I just talk about the acting and things like that, or the comparison to historical stuff, which might be a little bit boring. But Watchmen might be really interesting. So I probably will maybe do that one next. And we'll see. If there's other stuff out there, I watch a ton of movies. I watch a ton of different Netflix series. If you guys have anything that you want to propose or anything like that, I do have a Twitter account. Not many followers. It is at Evil Bill Bill. That's 2 Bills, so it's Evil Bill Bill. And you can go ahead and follow me on Twitter. And what we'll do is, if you have anything that you want me to cover or you think might be interesting for me to talk about, I'll be happy to give it a shot. But thanks very much, guys, and enjoy the show tonight. Maybe I'll have a video out this week, and we'll see what happens, okay? So I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching.